the provocative question I'd like to ask folks when it comes to where is the energy flowing and who is feeding who with data? If data were energy, which I believe in the new world that we're about to enter, data is a form of energy, the way that money is a form of energy.
Absolutely.
Data feels like a commodity now, but data is genetic information.
Hello, hello. Get ready to have your minds expanded and your paradigm shattered in this episode of Emergence Now. I'm Dhiren, your host. For the new listeners, thank you for joining us for this week's show. We appreciate you tuning in and taking this journey with us. If you haven't already, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to show us some love by liking and subscribing to the show. Your support goes a long way in boosting our visibility and helping us reach more curious minds like yours. Plus, it's like giving a friendly nudge to those algorithms that control the fate of podcast discovery. So go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button and join us on this exciting journey of exploration and discovery. I'm joined by the one and only Nikos Acuna, our resident biohacker, thought leader, and master of all things cutting edge. Nikos, my friend, as always, it's fantastic to have you here. How are you?
Always a pleasure to be here, Dhiren. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I think I needed a little bit more REM. I'm on the nootropics this morning, so if I'm a little bit off kilter, just note it. But we pushed off the last one. I figure I had some karma where I really just needed to do an episode on sleep deprivation, so just really sleep deprived. For some reason, I always want to be on point, especially when we want to do this, but I guess the universe had it such that you really just need to try it really sleep deprived, Nico. So I'm going to accept the premise and just roll with it.
Embrace it. Embrace it.
Yeah, I got to learn from our fellow endurance athletes over here. Just, like in under duress. Let's see how you do, right?
Under duress, exactly. So we've been getting a lot of questions, by the way, on the last episode, self-development in the age of AI. And so I've been speaking to a few friends and colleagues who've been saying that, AI is really hot at the moment. Can you dive a little deeper on AI? So a lot of people are curious about what AI is and how it works. Many people are worried about the potential impact of AI on jobs and society, right? And still others are excited about the possibilities that AI offers for business and individuals. We believe at Emergence Now that AI is a powerful technology that has the potential to transform the way we live and work. It already is transforming the way we live and work. But we also believe that it's important to have a very thoughtful conversation about AI and to consider the potential risks and the benefits. So we're putting together a series of episodes. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, also known as AI, and how it can help leaders and entrepreneurs achieve success. That's why we're doing this series. We want to help you, our listener, to understand AI and to explore the ways that it can be used for good. We also want to raise awareness of the potential risks of AI and to discuss how we can mitigate those risks. So whether you're a leader, an entrepreneur, or just someone who's curious about AI, we encourage you to join us for this series. Meeks, can you take us through what is AI?
Absolutely.
What is AI? What is the buzz all about? What is the hype all about?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start by saying artificial intelligence, AI, is a special kind of technology that essentially helps computers to do things that humans can do. It helps them learn, it helps them solve problems, and basically make decisions. It's this whole dream of having that wonderful robot assistant that can basically do anything that a human can do. And we can get into breaking down exactly what AI is. However, we need to first start at the highest level, which is to understand what intelligence is, right? So as a human, we define things. We have a brain, we have eyes, we have ears, we have hands, we have tongues that taste, and we have sensory receptors that basically take in input. And then we think, it processes that information. And then from there, we have an insight or we take an action. I'm drinking this cup of coffee from the input of my external world. So that is intelligence. Intelligence, broke down in the simplest possible terms, is the ability to sense, the ability to think, and the ability to act. And AI is essentially a system that is replicating the ability to sense, think, or act.
So it's not a single thing. It's a collection of techniques and algorithms that can be used to solve a wide variety of problems.
Absolutely. So AI in everyday life, we can talk about the smart speakers like Alexa or Siri that I have here. That's kind of my mic stand right now. My Sonos mic stand is hooked up to my Alexa, but I made sure to disable Siri because that's an AI. So there are lots of examples of this, from your Netflix recommendations to what shows up on your Insta feed. Basically anything that excites you, that is digitized, that's on an app on your phone, is probably powered by AI. There's a 90 to 95% chance that if it's a digital experience that you interact with, it's powered by AI.
Okay. So let's go a little deeper with what it is. I mean, take us through the history of AI. When did AI really come about? Because it's only in the last several months that people have really been, hearing about artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
But it's been around for much longer than that, right?
Oh, a whole lot longer. It's been around since the 1950s or so, with early pioneers like Alan Turing and John McCarthy, who really envisioned this possibility of creating intelligent machines. So in the early years, AI research focused on developing more of what are called rule-based systems and symbolic approaches to basically mimic human reasoning and problem solving. But there were these things called AI winters and summers, very similar to the hype cycles that we're experiencing right now, right? All of this buzz that I remember happening in 2015 or so, before AI was even super hot, and then it was not, and then it was super hot again. Very similar cycles, but it really started in this conference in Dartmouth College in 1956, which basically marked the birth of AI as a field, with AI researchers gathering to explore the potential of creating intelligent machines. But we can date this all the way back to Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace, because computation itself, systems and calculations and math and algorithms go way back, right? So Emergence is about taking a single platform and then applying different rules, characteristics, and innovations to create something new. So that's very much on point with our show. And eventually this thing called AI comes from it, right? But we can date it back through 1956. And, no need to dive any deeper into that unless you want to, but that's the basic history of AI.
That's good. What about the different types of AI?
Sure.
Right? There are different types of AI, from rule-based, as you mentioned, to machine learning and deep learning. Take us through the distinctions between these terms.
Absolutely. So most researchers start with narrow AI or weak AI versus strong AI. and then kind of transcends that into and goes into general or AGI, right? So there's a spectrum of weak AI versus, now AI is going to be super sentient and it's going to control everything and all this stuff, right? So we have to understand the granularities in that spectrum. And we'll get into the advanced AI stuff in later episodes, I'm sure. But examples of narrow AI refers to AI systems that are designed to perform very specific tasks with high proficiency, but have limited scope beyond those tasks. Imagine in the 90s when AI was just designed to play chess and it got really good at playing chess. But if you asked it what the weather was, does not compute, right? So examples of narrow AI include image recognition, the way that the brain says that's a cat, that's a dog, that's a couch, that's a TV. Or with images and videos, you could do that, right? It's really good at language translation now. So AI systems that can translate text or speech from one language to another, to the virtual personal assistants, right? When you get to things like a ChatGPT, that's now becoming a little bit more versatile. So it's getting really good at predicting the next word, but it has wider applications, right? So now getting into general and strong AI, or artificial general intelligence, basically refers to these AI systems that start to possess more human-like intelligence and are capable of performing any intellectual task that a human can do. And these things such as reasoning, learning, understanding natural language, adapting to novel situations. It's a really hard problem to get a robot to do something very, very basic, such as interact with the real world and make a pot of coffee. It really makes you appreciate how interesting, how sophisticated and nuanced the human body is and our ability to do so many different things because of the fact that you have to achieve so many different calculations and computations and interact with the physical world such that it's really hard to program a computer to do just that. But general AI essentially requires the ability to basically transfer all of that knowledge and then start to learn quickly from that and adapt to the situation. So general AI starts to think and act more like a human would.
So the term artificial intelligence it's been around for decades, but it's still a term that is often misunderstood because everything you're saying is human-like capability, right? But we're calling it artificial.
Yes.
So is that something that they just got wrong in terms of the naming of what this branch of computer science is all about? Because there seems to be nothing artificial about its intelligence.
Yes. And I personally try not to get super hung up on definitions because definitions are always...
That's my job.
Definitions are always fluid.
That's what I'm here for.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But language is key, right? We need to get oriented to the same reality. What are we talking about?
Absolutely.
Is it artificial? Is it real?
It's artificial because it's made in silicone, right? It's not made of the meat space. So like,
understood.
You're right. So it's artificial because it comes from something different than the very, very nuanced biochemistry, the biochemical matter that is, what is the meat in our heads? That's the brain. But because of the fact that silicone, it's artificial and it's computation, it's ones and zeros that we could basically digitize. So here, that's a good entry point. Actually, I'm glad you broke that up because now we can get into machine learning, right? Which
often, take us through it.
Absolutely. So machine learning is basically a crucial component of AI systems that enables these AI systems to learn from data and improve their performance over time. And even simpler than that, it's, for the technologists, you'll get this like very, very quickly. when you know Python or C++ or Object-C or anything, you're basically programming. There's an input, there's a command, there's an output. Whenever you crack open your command line interface, you can easily do that. So machine learning is a very crucial component in AI systems because it enables these computers to learn from data and improve their performance over time. So you have to do this because in the old world, you have to program absolutely everything. You have an input, a command, and then an output. But with machine learning, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go step by step and train this computer what to do. Instead, you have training data. So machine learning models are basically trained using large amounts of data. It's usually in the form of labeled data where each data point is associated with a correct answer or outcome. And this labeled data serves as a basis for that AI system to learn patterns and then make predictions. All right. The second component of machine learning are the actual algorithms. ML algorithms are basically used to analyze.
ML being machine learning.
Machine learning. Correct. So the machine learning algorithms are used to analyze that training data. And usually you have a human in the loop there that says, all right, you're basically, it works like a dog and you say, hey, that's correct. You labeled that thing properly. I'm going to pat you on the head. That gets a little bit deeper into reinforcement learning, but we don't have to get into that. So the algorithms themselves, they extract these meaningful patterns or relationships with a human in the loop to make sure that they're making those correct classifications. So they apply statistical techniques to basically identify these patterns. They classify that data and then they make the predictions. Now the models themselves through the learning process are the machine learning algorithms that generate these models. The models represent the knowledge and can be used to make predictions or classify this new or unseen data, right? So if all of this data is, so you first take it through the system, again, you take it through the system and you say, hey, everything here is a cat, make sure you know it's a cat. And then now you have a whole data set that's unclassified. And then the machine goes through and say, okay, now I think I know what a cat is. Now I think I know what a dog is. Let me start to apply that model or that schema. Let me apply that label to it. So that's machine learning.
Okay. And when you talk about data, where is the data coming from?
Everywhere. So
okay.
So we are now taking a step back, we are now living in a digital world where every email is tracked, every like, every emoji, every time we turn our Nest on or off, the temperature that we set it on, we're tracking our steps, we're tracking how deep we get into REM sleep, we have glucose monitors. Anything that you do in the digital world is now tracked. Every time you use a Wi-Fi signal, it is now tracked. Every time you buy something online, it is now tracked. So this data is being captured by every single tech company that you interact with on your device. So your device is essentially an extension of you. We have exported our cognition into our mobile phones for that very reason. And all of the data that you have, imagine losing your wallet. You probably wouldn't care about losing your wallet these days, but if you lost your phone, oh my goodness, you would go nuts. You would go ballistic, even though you have Find My iPhone or your iCloud backup fully restored. But essentially the data comes from everything that you do, picked up by every single tech platform or app that you utilize.
So, I mean, losing our phone these days is like losing our brain.
Losing our minds, yeah.
Exactly. It's like, it's no longer the phone, or just the phone, right? So we are the data. And the data privacy debate is all around how much of our data is actually being captured by companies that are then using it to build their data sets and their models.
This gets into a very controversial subject, one that I'm very passionate about and actually building.
I can tell from your voice.
I'm actually building a company around data sovereignty and the ownership of your own data because of the fact that I spent a lot of time in these media technology companies, fundamentally understanding where our data goes, how people use it. And when we are interacting.
Can you give us the 101 on that? The
Sure.
101 around that predicament or that
Sure.
Piece of artificial intelligence.
Hey there, we're taking a quick break from the show to let you know that if you'd like to invite Dhiren or Nikos to speak at your next event on topics ranging from emergence and the inner game to the future of AI, we've got you covered. Simply email us at info@emergencenowpod.com. Once again, that's info@emergencenowpod.com. Now, let's dive back to the show.
Absolutely. Quick plug that I have no association with. I would highly recommend folks watch the Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. That gives you a great primer for what big tech companies are doing with your data. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, the first documentary was actually The Great Hack and also demonstrated these capabilities. And I was, as a derivative, kind of 4 degrees of separation away from immediately experiencing a lot of what was going on. And then in some cases had firsthand experience in building a lot of these algorithms that essentially make you addicted to these devices. I was in the online advertising world where these algorithms,
You're in the kitchen.
I was in the kitchen fundamentally trying to get people to click on an ad, for lack of a better term. And then the machine learning algorithms were getting really good at predicting who wants a pizza versus who wants a pair of shoes, and kind of some context around that. One quick sidebar story is when we were running a campaign and we saw some insights on the types of individuals that buy a lot of pizza, and you could make assumptions and put 2 and 2 together. But then the machine learning models figured out that, okay, why were these particular people buying pizza 1 day a week versus 4 days a week? And then we saw this massive spike in the people that were buying pizza 4 days out of the week and then immediately bought some running shoes kind of within the same time frame. And we realized that they were carbo loading for things like marathons because we also got the timestamps on that data. So we were able to make that correlation. So that is a way of getting into what you had just teed up, which is based on what we're doing on our devices. We're liking a lot of social media. We're doom scrolling, and you're going to see some sponsored ads. And the reason why you see the sponsored ads, the specific sponsored ads that you do, is because of
targeted.
It's targeted because of your previous buying behavior. And now people won't like this, but it's picking up everything that you're saying on your mobile phone. And you'll have a conversation.
Is that really true?
Yes, it is. It is absolutely true. I know it's true. It's always on, and it's part of your terms of service as well. And so it's really interesting how these companies are picking up your data. And the 101 on it is it benefits you as a consumer because you're getting personalized information, but you don't own that data. Imagine every single ad you've ever clicked on. Imagine everything you've ever liked. That's data. That is you. That is literally part of your DNA. And guess who owns it? It's Meta. It's Google. It's Apple. It's
Mark Sunder.
Mark Sunder. They own your data, and essentially they own a part of you. So not getting too advanced into what we're setting up in the future, but data is a utility and it is a part of you. And so more on that to come, but that's essentially the 101.
Okay. I want to just go back for a moment with, what you said about the phone recording everything, right? Because I've heard some people say yes, some people say no. It makes sense that it's always listening. I've experienced some mind-blowing coincidences around having my phone and talking about a product that I've never clicked on. But as soon as I get on social media within 24 hours, I'm targeted. So I triangulated that a few years ago to the fact that it's always listening. But you said something really interesting. You said, right? How do you know? And that's the first part. The second part to the question is, what is actually listening? Is it the apps? Is it going through the telco operator, or is it going directly to these companies? How is the flow actually happening? Give us the 101.
Yeah, sure. So breaking down what's going on behind the scenes. So there are sensors on your phone, and we mentioned speech detection in numerous ways. And what's happening is when the sensors on your phone are picking up keywords or key phrases, when you provide access to certain companies, when you're clicking, agree to terms of service, there are APIs in the background that have access to this data. And it's just another data set. It's just picking up what you're saying, right? And anytime it picks up on key phrases, like you'll have a conversation on, you know what? I really should wear more hats. I think I look good in hats. I personally don't wear hats unless I'm having a bad hair day, but hey, let's start talking about hats. I want some hats. And let's run that test, right? And so it's the AI is getting really smart at picking up those specific keywords. And there is an entire ecosystem and what's called a data pipeline through these APIs where it could scrape those key phrases and say, hey, what's the likelihood of this person really needing a hat? And from there, you're put your data, because it's tied to what's called a device ID on your phone, appended to an email, appended to your browser IP address, things like that, where you could basically triangulate who you are as an individual. And every single tech company, me, Nikos Acuna, tied to my Gmail address, there you bet your bottom dollar there is a user ID that Google has on me, that Meta has on me, that every one of these tech companies have on me, through which they can put me in a segment that now automatically puts me in a segment that says, Nikos has a 2% probability of buying a hat today. Oh, how many times did he mention a hat? Okay, there's that probability now just went up to 40%. Now that went up to 50% to 60%. And that's essentially how those algorithms work. You as a person get put into these buckets based on future actions that you may take to buy something. And I want to emphasize buy something is because you are trained to buy stuff, to take action, to engage with these apps. And so I want everybody to be aware of what you are being trained to do, what you are trained to think, what you are trained to act like based on certain algorithms. So just want to keep everybody aware of device utilization and ultimately what you're clicking on, what you're buying because of all of these things.
You said something to me a few days ago that has been running through my mind. You said it offline. You said you are being controlled, influenced, and run by algorithms. Like your life is being run by an algorithm. And that really struck a chord in me, because now as I go deeper into understanding the implications of AI and I connect my understanding to that statement, it's so true. From the news, from clicks to, everything, right? Everything that we do on our digital device, be it, music, shopping, learning, business, everything that I do online is being tracked and being used to then target me to buy something, essentially.
The provocative question I'd like to ask folks when it comes to where is the energy flowing and who is feeding who with data? If data were energy, which I believe in the new world that we're about to enter, data is a form of energy, the way that money is a form of energy. Data
absolutely
feels like a commodity now, but data is genetic information. And we'll get into this in the next episode, just with respect to how things are changing very, very quickly. But the most astute thinkers on this subject believe that everything is essentially information. The world is information, right? The world is characterized by not just bits and bytes, but there is code deeply embedded in the universe such that everything is information, and matter is no different. So with that in mind, everything follows these patterns of the second law of thermodynamics, and data is no different. So now I get that we're getting a little bit into the rabbit hole, but to tie a bow on your point, I do believe that most people are unaware that they are serving some algorithm, and it's basically forcing them into a behavior that they don't realize they're being programmed to do, which is unfortunate.
Okay. So we spoke about artificial intelligence. So there's nothing artificial about this intelligence, right? It's been around for decades, but it's still a term that's misunderstood. And many people think that AI is something that is equivalent to human intelligence, or in some cases, even superior to human intelligence, right? Is that really the case? I mean, it's a broad term that refers to a system that can learn and reason, but is it something that is going to surpass and exceed human intelligence? Because there's a lot of fear around AI and job displacement. And I mean, that's one of the major fears, right? Then there's privacy and ethics, and we'll get into that over the course of the series. But is this something that we should be concerned about in terms of the capability of this system exceeding the human intelligence? Enhanced intelligence, and the term being, a more accurate way of describing the capabilities of AI. It's enhanced intelligence. And if we use it, it actually then expands our human intelligence. It augments our capability rather than a threat to humanity. Something along those lines. Any thoughts?
Absolutely. I think you touched on something very deep, and I've been playing with this idea through various lenses. There are a lot of folks that want to use the term augmented intelligence because the story is always going to be about what now in the news is being called AI alignment. Will AI have similar goals to humanity such that they don't misinterpret, because of a lack of context, our goals and ultimately our outcomes for what is going to be for the betterment of humanity? And also, we want to augment ourselves such that we are being the best people that we can be. So that is very much in line with emergence, right? And I would also say that the missing key piece with AI is that, again, everything tends to be binary. Even with these large language models, they're getting much better at predicting the next word, but there still needs to be some nuance and recognition and context. And I feel like the field of EI is going to emerge as well. That's emotional intelligence for what you're calling augmented intelligence. So if AI understands the nuances of emotion, moral intelligence, ethics, things that are the hardest, the most difficult challenges that we have as humans, then I think there's hope for us all. So just to be clear, I'm calling out the risks because it gets into a deep, often controversial, sometimes heavy-handed issue. But I also want to be clear that I am an optimist, and I have nothing but hope about the exponential potential about artificial intelligence and how we can transcend ourselves because of it. And we'll get into the singularity and all of that good stuff in later episodes. It's a little bit more of an advanced concept. But for now, the intent is definitely to educate people of the risks, but also talk about the major benefits of utilizing artificial intelligence, of curing cancer, extending our lifespan, saving people's lives. things like that, where humans are often limited in our understanding in making these very quick decisions on a limited amount of data.
So, Nikos, that's a really great point. So I encourage the listeners to really think of artificial intelligence as an extension, right? As an extension of their own intelligence, right? Because AI systems are not designed to replace human intelligence. For example, AI systems can be used to help, as Nikos mentioned, cure disease, right? That's a big problem. Or process large amounts of data quickly and efficiently in ways that humans are not able to do, right? Identify patterns and trends that would be difficult for humans to see, or make predictions about the future. So these are just a few of what AI can do to enhance human intelligence. So as AI systems continue to develop, we're going to become even more powerful and versatile in our humanity. That's what we believe is emergent in AI systems. They will be able to help us solve problems that we currently cannot solve. And they will make our lives easier and more productive. We're seeing that already, right? So the term AI is debatable, right? As Nico said, he doesn't get caught up in terms and terminologies, but for me, language is so important, right? And the word enhanced intelligence, by way of what it can do for us as humanity, is a more accurate and appropriate way to describe the capabilities of AI systems. And Nikos and I will go through that over the series, but this is something I just wanted to put out there as a perspective.
I love that. The AI rebrand. Let it begin.
The AI rebrand. Let it happen here first.
Let it
on
begin.
Emergence Now.
I love setting that intention. So just to wrap up the finer point on the application. So let's talk about the positive side, right? So advancements in healthcare, no question. Transforming the way medical professionals diagnose, treat, or manage disease, right? AI algorithms can analyze those medical images such as X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and just reduce mistakes, identify anomalies or signs of these diseases. This aids in the early detection and accurate diagnosis and basically improving patient outcomes to the T, right? Personalized treatment planning. AI systems can process patient data, medical history, genetic information, treatment outcomes, and for the biohackers of the world, right? The more that you can fundamentally understand these biochemical processes down to the cellular level, you know what you're putting in your body, what you're getting out, the energy, where it comes from, how much sleep you're getting. This helps us as self-care as well as healthcare providers tailor the right kind of treatments, both biohacking, supplements, individual patients, increasing the effectiveness of basically minimizing any kind of side effects on drugs. And then drug discovery is another one, right? Assisting vast amounts of biological data, predicting the efficacy and safety of potential drug candidates, right? And then, there's so many different use cases: autonomous vehicles, traffic management, predictive maintenance. And so AI can basically monitor and analyze data from, again, most of these sensors that you have. But we also have to be, again, cognizant of how that data is being utilized. Despite the positive, there's always going to be negative. Just like how fire was brought into the world, everything is a double-edged sword. But I believe that we tilt ourselves, if we tilt ourselves toward the positive, the optimists will rule the world and essentially create the best outcomes for humanity, which is our intention here.
Yeah, well said. I have a client of mine who has a large database of data on customers, competitors, and he challenged his team to come up with new product ideas and marketing campaigns. And they used a tool called Amazon SageMaker. So it's essentially a service that uses machine learning, as you described earlier, and it is an AI tool that can be used to generate new ideas by exploring different possibilities and combinations of data. So they're going through this data warehouse and they're using this tool to basically identify new ideas in terms of product, service, and campaigns in ways that humans would not be able to, could do, but would take a lot longer and it wouldn't be as accurate as an AI tool would, right?
Absolutely. So
yeah.
So product development, AI for product development. All right. So let's get slightly techie here, just because I feel like for the listeners,
it's still keeping it 101.
Still keeping it
slightly
101.
Techie at the 101 level. Yes.
Right. So for the entrepreneurs that are building a technology infrastructure, AWS is always a good place to start. AWS has many services, from cloud infrastructure to your what's called a data warehouse. It's essentially called a Redshift warehouse, where you could put all of your data, all of your proprietary data. And what you mentioned, when you're using Amazon SageMaker, that is an API plugged directly into this data warehouse, where you could slice and dice and basically transform that data in a process called an ETL. You extract, you transform, you load that data up within that data pipeline. And then from there, you're basically exporting that data into QuickSight. But before you do that, you're putting that through a modeling pipeline. And you could even use SageMaker Autopilot, right? Which is a feature engineering mechanism. So you can prioritize the different attributes that lead toward better products, right? And then you basically take that export and put that into QuickSight, and then it'll come up with a dashboard that says, these are the attributes, these are the most predictive attributes of that product that will likely sell to your customers, because you have all of that data in hand. So that's as techie as we'll get it for now, but we can go a lot deeper into corresponding episodes. But that is a huge and valuable place to start doing some AI work, is product development, for sure.
Yeah. I want to actually share something with the listeners. There's an application called Coggle. It's a brainstorming application that I've started using. And basically what it does is it's an app that creates mind maps and helps you brainstorm ideas, right? It's more of a creativity tool rather than a business machine learning tool. So it's a little lighter than a SageMaker. But that's something that I've been playing around with, and I'll share more information as we go along in the series. But Coggle, we'll put it in the show notes. I highly recommend it for anyone in the creative space that's looking to generate new ideas. It's a very powerful tool.
Awesome. So if I were to sum up what we've talked about on the show, AI is basically a field of computer science that simulates human intelligence in machines, and it enables them to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. We talked about narrow AI or weak AI versus general AI and strong AI, which we'll definitely get into in future episodes. We talked about the difference between machine learning. We can definitely dive deeper into the types of deep learning. And for the techies out there, we could definitely get into deep learning and large language model transformer architecture and things like that. But overall, we want our listeners to basically come away from this with a positive attitude and an optimistic attitude about the relationship between humanity and machines. These machines are supposed to make you better. It's intended to help us transcend ourselves, to understand what our limitations are so that we can essentially do better for all of humanity, solve problems, extend our lifespans, cure cancer, and really be our very best selves. So I am very optimistic about AI. I've been working in AI for almost 15 years now, and it's been a whirlwind, and I cannot be more excited about what AI unlocks for all of us as entrepreneurs, as individuals, down to our creativity and our artistry. And ultimately, I just can't be more excited about what's to come. How about you, Dhiren?
So, Nikos, you are the expert. I don't like using that word, so I'm going to go with eternal student of AI, right? This is something that you are in the, you have your finger on the pulse of AI. You're working in AI. You've been thinking about AI. You're writing about AI. So I have a question for you. Is AI a sentient being?
You're dropping that now? Wow. I love it.
Yes, I'm dropping it now.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us. And the reason I'm asking you this is because it's going to set it up for the next episode or the series of episodes that we're going to be doing, because I think there's a lot of fear around what AI is going to do to humanity, right? Specifically around, job displacement is a huge topic right now.
Sure.
And I believe the other perspective is, yes, jobs will be displaced, but it will also lead to a more equitable society.
Sure.
Right? AI could help reduce inequality as machines take over some of the most dangerous and difficult jobs, right? But another thing that people talk about is consciousness.
Yep.
Right? So is it a sentient being at the moment? And will it ever be a sentient being the way humans are sentient beings? The way we feel, the way we love, the way we connect, the way we dream, the way we envision.
Yes, I would say it depends. And that is definitely that's the punting answer, but I'll go into some of the granularity here because this is where we have a problem with definitions. The way that we have, I feel like we've gotten to a pretty good, solid definition of intelligence that we have some consensus around. And a lot of definitions just need a lot of consensus for agreement. Consciousness is one where there is no consensus whatsoever. So I'll call those problems out at first. I will talk about the granularities of sentience in future episodes. I would say that one would argue, or researchers would argue, let's frame it a different way. What is the most sentient AI to date? If we were to just look at the basic definition of sentience is self-awareness, right? Do I know that I'm a human with a brain, these hands, these eyes? Do I have a soul? Like, you could ask those deeper questions. Does a machine know that it's a machine? I would say that at the algorithmic level, there are glimpses of that. If you were to argue that ChatGPT is general AI or sentient, some could argue that there are glimpses of that today because of the fact that they could write Shakespeare, the fact that they could interpret a data set better than any researcher could, the fact that they could draw up calculations and now start to code in Python the way that any great machine learning engineer would and start to build applications because of different AI agents that are plugged into that. So is there this recursive pattern that's going on in terms of how AI could potentially come to this self-awareness? Some would argue that it could be true, but a lot of people would say that that's not happening to date. There is no self-awareness. It could recognize a cat or a dog, but it has absolutely no context of what a cat or a dog actually is. It could only parrot back to you definitions of what a cat or a dog is because of the data that it's been fed, but doesn't really have
that humans
fed, but doesn't really have true sentience as we know it right now. So the short answer is no, not right now. Will it in the future? That's what we'll get into in corresponding episodes when we talk about the singularity. So stay plugged in, I would say. Totally punted, but
thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through what artificial intelligence is and why it matters. Stay curious, stay informed, and join us next time as we continue to explore the fascinating technology and how it's going to impact our lives. That is what we call artificial intelligence. However, we've rebranded it to enhanced intelligence. Thanks for listening to the show.
Thank you for tuning in to Emergence Now, where we explore the emerging trends, technologies, and ideas that are shaping our world today for you to discover yourself. We hope you enjoyed this episode and gained valuable insights that you can apply in your own life. If you want to stay up to date with our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media, where we share additional content, engage with our community, and keep the conversation going. Thanks again for listening to Emergence Now, and we hope you'll join us for the next episode.